A passenger plane caught fire before takeoff at an airport in South Korea late Tuesday, but authorities said all 176 people on board were safely evacuated. According to Associated Press, the Airbus plane operated by a South Korean airline, Air Busan, was preparing to leave for Hong Kong when its rear parts caught fire at Gimhae International Airport in the southeast, the Transport Ministry said in a statement. The ministry's statement said all of the plane's 169 passengers, 6 crew members and 1 engineer were evacuated using an escape slide. The National Fire Agency said in a release that 3 people suffered minor injuries during the evacuation. The fire agency said the fire was put out at 11:31 p.m., about an hour after it deployed firefighters and fire trucks at the scene. The cause of the fire wasn't immediately known. The Transport Ministry said the plane is an A321 model. Tuesday's incident came a month after a Jeju Air passenger plane crashed at Busan International Airport in southern South Korea, killing all but 2 of the 181 people on board. It was one of the deadliest disasters in South Korea's aviation history. The Boeing 737-800 skidded off the airport's runway on December 29 after its landing gear failed to deploy, slamming into a concrete structure and bursting into flames. The flight was returning from Bangkok and all of the victims were South Koreans except for 2 Thai nationals. The first report on the crash released Monday said authorities have confirmed traces of bird strikes in the plane's engines, though officials haven't determined the cause of the accident. According to Associated Press, NATO's Secretary-General, Mark Rutte, on Monday warned Russia was trying to destabilize countries in the alliance as he called on members to increase defense spending to counter Moscow. To guarantee our security in the future, we also need to ramp up our efforts now, Rutte said in a joint briefing alongside Portuguese Prime Minister, Luís Montenegro, as he visited Lisbon on Monday. We also know that the goal of 2%, now set a decade ago, will not be enough to meet the challenges of tomorrow. The threat from Russia may seem distant, but let me assure you it is not, he added as he also warned Portugal about Russian threats to its territory. Russian ships and long-range bombers menace the Portuguese coast. Portugal's fragile undersea infrastructure is squarely in Russia's sights, Rutte said. Rutte also addressed recent cable ruptures in the Baltic Sea. Just yesterday we saw another incident in the Baltic Sea with disruption to a cable connecting Latvia and Sweden. The good news is through Mission Baltic Sentry, NATO's ships and aircraft are operating alongside our allies over there, enabling a fast, coordinated response. Sunday's rupture follows a string of incidents that have heightened fears of Russian sabotage and spying in the strategic region. Earlier this month, NATO began a new mission dubbed Baltic Sentry, which included frigates, maritime patrol aircraft and a fleet of naval drones to provide enhanced surveillance and deterrence in the Baltic Sea, which the Transatlantic Alliance says is to protect undersea cables and pipelines.
Olha, querem melhor que isso? Só no contínuo? Já aconteceu aqui, de certeza absoluta.
Sim, Mato Cuba acabou agora mesmo de chegar. Vai dar um bocadinho de
Queria, em primeiro lugar, dirigir uma palavra de saudação.
Today we discussed the security situation in Europe. Russia is trying to destabilize our countries and is challenging the resilience of our societies, with acts ranging from assassination attempts to cyber attacks to sabotage. And Russia continues to wage a brutal war of aggression against Ukraine. NATO supports Ukraine, and it is vital that we continue to do so. Just yesterday, we saw another incident in the Baltic Sea, with disruption to a cable connecting Latvia and Sweden. The good news is, through Mission Baltic Sentry, NATO ships and aircraft are operating alongside our allies over there, enabling a fast, coordinated response. NATO is strong today. And to guarantee our security in the future, we also need to ramp up our efforts now. That also means we need to spend more on our defense. And I welcome the recent increases in Portugal's defense spending. But we also know that the goal of 2%, now set a decade ago, will not be enough to meet the challenges of tomorrow. The threat from Russia may seem distant, but let me assure you, it is not. Russian ships and long-range bombers menace the Portuguese coast. Portugal's vital undersea infrastructure is squarely in Russia's sights.
De euros, que equivale a mais do dobro do que aquele que era o objetivo com que iniciámos o ano e com que chegámos a meados do ano. O governo português vai caminhar para reforçar o seu investimento em defesa sem colocar minimamente em causa o seu equilíbrio financeiro, contas públicas saudáveis, um país estável, um país seguro, um país atrativo para colocar a economia a crescer. Porque se nós não conseguirmos colocar a economia a crescer, não temos meios para investir na defesa como noutras políticas públicas.
Mesmo aqui,